I've been making games for 4 years, and in that time, I have made over 25 games. And it wasn't until recently that I've looked back on everything I've done and realized that I've never made something that I'm proud of. My only goal in almost every single project that I worked on was just to learn. I didn't care about any other aspect of the project. The number one thing I recommend, if you want to know how to make games, go make games, right? But I think that the output of this is that after 3 years, I feel pretty proficient in the technical side of making games, but I don't look back on anything that I've ever made and I think, wow, I'm happy with that. And that feels kind of shitty to say after 3 years. I started this year with a really big question of why am I doing this? Why am I making games if after 3 years I haven't made anything that I'm proud of? So I started thinking about what is the reason that I started making games. You know, some of my favorite games have been really story driven. I am a big story person, you know? And this year was the first time I worked on a project and I had this feeling that I have never had before. Anxiety. Anxiety. You're making a game, you're feeling anxious for what? I was reflecting a lot on why this was the first time in my entire time that I was feeling this emotion of nervousness, anxiety, a little bit of excitement, even though it was a game jam that I had spent 3 days on. This was a tiny game. It's called Tiny World. And the majority of that time was not the technical side of making the game itself. The majority of the time that I spent on the game was on the writing and the sound, and that's it. It was the epitome of everything that I wanted to get into game development to do. But it was in a subject matter that I'm not super passionate about. So I feel like I do this thing. Whenever I want to do something, I put in these excuses on why it can fail. And then if it does fail or when it fails, I can always lean back on those excuses to say, obviously it's going to fail. It's because I built in this excuse into the project already. So of course it's going to fail. And I did the same thing with this project where I made the project. I formulated the idea around a subject matter that I'm not really passionate about and that I don't really interact with in terms of a consumer. I don't really watch. It was like a romance story about a relationship. And I personally, I don't like romance movies. I don't like rom-coms. I don't watch them. I don't read anything. So when I jumped into it and I made it, I was going, if it fails, of course it's going to fail because I'm making it about a story that I don't engage in. So how am I going to know if it's good or not? Because I have no experience of reading it or watching it or even liking it, you know? So of course it's going to be bad. Of course it's going to be bad. And I did that on purpose, subconsciously on purpose. But then in the lead up to me submitting that project, I started to get this feeling of anxiety. And I was reflecting, why am I getting so anxious about this game that I spent 3 days on? It's in a subject matter I don't engage in. I made this project basically on a whim. Why am I getting so nervous about the release of this project when it in my head, logically looking at it, it should be such an insignificant project. It shouldn't be eliciting anywhere to this close of the level of emotion that it was eliciting in me, but it was. And I thought about it some more. I think the reason why is because this project was the first time where I made an honest effort where one of the goals was not to be a learning project, but it was to be something that people enjoy. It was an actual concerted effort into making something that when somebody plays it, it's not just about my experience, it's about their experience. And if I'm not able to produce something that is successful in that regard, maybe I'm just fucking bad. Maybe I just don't know how to make games, even though this game was so simple in terms of the mechanics, in terms of the code. The big crux of this project was the writing. That has been my main motivation for making games in the first place. So if I can't hit this on the mark, then that means that I cannot do the thing that I wanted to do when I first started making games, which is make games with these really interesting stories and that people want to explore. And if I can't, then I can't. Then that is a reflection on me and my ability. And if that's the case, then what have I been doing for 3 years? What was this? What was this all for if I can't? Yeah. I just never. Yeah. And then, man, I didn't think I was gonna get kind of emotional talking about this, but I think that is just the truth. I feel like I put a lot of my effort into this, and there wasn't something that I could hide behind to say that if this is not successful, then here are the reasons why. Then I was just doing it to learn. I did it for that one express purpose of it being engaging, and it focused a lot on my ability to write. And if it's not good, it's not good. What can I hide behind? There's nothing for me to hide behind if it's just not good. Yeah. So this project was that. And then it came out. The game jam was like 10 days long, and I didn't start on the project until like more than halfway of the time being done. So I think I did in like 3 or 4 days, and I did it and I put it out, and I was still nervous. And then when it came out, I got so many comments talking about how good the writing is and how it made people reflect on their own real life, and how some people got teary-eyed and like emotional about it. And obviously I was working with 2 voice actors, and how well the voice actors did. It felt good to get that sort of praise on something that I was actually yeah, you get what I mean? It just felt good. And since then, I've looked at the project, and I still look at it and I go, this, I'm not happy with this writing. This feels kind of cringe, you know? I think this is kind of bad. And I point at it. I go like, maybe the main mechanic is very loose in the game. I think I literally spent 4 hours. The first day that I worked on the project, I spent 4 hours on writing the code. And then I didn't touch the code until the very end when I was crunching at the end to get it done. The majority of it was already done on the first day, but the writing, the thing that I cared about, the thing that I care about the most in games, seemingly it was a success. So I look at this project, and this is one of the first projects that I look at and I go, I'm kind of proud of that. I wouldn't mind putting my signature next to that and saying, this is a thing that I made. I am the reason of this thing's creation. I did this. It's not something that I'm 100% proud of. There are some issues that I would have liked to fix, but at the end of the day, I am more happy with it than I am upset with it. I think that is the best that I can hope for right now. And then once I start to get my skills up and develop more as a game developer, we can start getting to that point where I can build something that I'm more proud of and that I can point to and say, I made that, and have no reservations about pointing to it. I think this project was a very positive first step, and it built a level of confidence in me that I didn't have before, and it now exists. But I know I did it at least once. So I know it's possible that I can do it again because I did it at least once. Yeah, that's it. If you want to try a Tiny World, because that's the one that yeah, Tiny World. Check it out. It's in the comments. Wishlist the fruit game. It's there also. Wishlist the fruit game. Wishlist it. Okay, bye.